Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Happy Sad Confused. I'm Josh Horowitz. Now, every so often, we like to dive deep into a movie that warrants it. So consider this your spoiler warning. We're going deep into Scream 6 with the gang from Radio Silence on the pod today. Welcome, guys.
Well, hey, it's good to meet you, man. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Thanks for having us. I'm so thrilled to have you guys. Are you ready to spill all? You ready to just get it out of your system?
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
All right. So we're going to I'm going to give a reminder to the audience. Remember to like, subscribe, do all the things so you don't miss a thing from this great chat about this great new movie, Scream 6 with Radio Silence. All right, gentlemen, this has been a long time coming. I'm a big fan of Radio Silence. Matt, Tyler, Chad, welcome officially to Happy Sad Confused. This is a big
We're
moment.
fans of yours as well. This is a big moment for us too, man. Thank you so much for having us on.
I was nervous before this. No joke. I was like, oh, man.
No, please. If you've heard or seen any of my work, I am not intimidating in any way. You are in you're among friends. But I do want to suss out each of you a little bit to get a sense of each of you. So who has the most fucked up ideas of the three of you? Who's the one on set that's like a little more blood, put the blade in a little further, twist it? Who's the one to watch out for?
Well, just to say it sounds like you've been on our sets because that's the conversation we have almost every time. More sweat, more blood, more violence.
I think, we just like always pushing each other towards the edge of the cliff. I think that's what's so fun about working with your friends is it's a very alive and organic and in the moment process. And it's never like, oh, just one idea. It's always one idea. And then the yes and game starts. Ending. And I think exactly. I think that's how we end up with, ultimately what's on screen.
Is there a voice of reason in the group? Is there someone that says, guys, this has been fun, but we got to just get the shit done now?
I would say not in terms of the violence or the blood or the spritz or anything like that. It's usually like one of our department heads or one of the actors being like, all right, guys, I'm shiny enough or whatever to get. Or
our producer, William.
Yeah,
he's kind of the voice of reason in this group. He's like the one of the fourth member of Radio Silence. He's the guy that's usually like, "Yo, come on, we got to move on. We're actually here to make a movie, not just have fun."
Now, talk to me a little. For the uninitiated, yes, I'm not talking to like this hard rock group. They are Radio Silence. They have a name. They are. This is unusual. Like I've talked to many brothers over the years. Like first, tell me. Correct me if I'm wrong. Have you ever been actually credited as Radio Silence? Because the DGA, in my experience, is not so keen on like letting any duos direct, let alone fun names. So how does that work?
We were credited as Radio Silence before joining the DGA.
Got it.
And then you're right. The DGA has a very very strong policy on the number of directors, and so you have to go through this whole process just to get co-director credit. That in and of itself is like a gauntlet. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I've heard about it. I've heard about this because my brother's a writer and has a partner, and they co-directed at some point, and it's like you go through this like tribunal. It's like Michael Mann and other directors like in the guild are like standing watching you, and you have to prove to them
genuinely terrifying,
right?
Yeah. It was. We walked into a room, and it was. When we went in and got our waiver, we were told, oh, it's going to be a small thing. It's a handful of members. Maybe some people will be joining via the conference line. And it just happened to land the date that we went in to meet there was Oscar weekend. So everybody was in town. And we walked into the room. And it was legit. It was like 20 people sitting around, big circular conference room table. I mean, it looked like the war room. and then there were actually seats. There was like a spectator section. And there were a bunch of other people that showed up and were there. I mean, I'm in a flat sweat right now even thinking about it. It was so scary.
Far scarier than anything in your movies is this tribunal. So and for the uninitiated, how did you land the name Radio Silence? Was there a backup name? How did we get here?
The Radio Silence name came from us, when we were just kind of getting started and we kept sending ideas and projects and pitches and trying to get going. Every single thing we ever put out into the world, we would never hear anything back. So the joke between us was always just, hey, did you hear from so-and-so? radio silence, radio silence, radio silence. And then when we were doing VHS, we got a call before going up to Sundance, or before the credits were put on that, from Brad Miska, who produced that movie. And he was like, so who do I credit? And literally we were just like on text being like, we just got to come up with a name. And it was like 4 minutes later, we were like, oh, radio silence. Perfect.
So now that you're in demand, I was going to say, now that you're in demand, is there an urge to go like Ringing Off the Hook Productions or something?
No, I think that there's something, one of the things that we now love about how the meaning of that name, that title has evolved is I think it'll always remind us of how we started and how, it was always just about, I think we all came up in a way where we knew that if we wanted to do what we wanted to do, we were going to either have to ask for permission and wait a really long time to get our foot in the door, or we could all join forces and just start making stuff on our own. And I think that, even though we're obviously a couple studio movies into our careers now, that is still very much like that humble approach is still very much how we approach the process. And I think that it's just a reminder of how to always be in this business and in this process, right? To like make sure that it's always about the right thing first, which for us is like hanging out with good people and your friends and creating a community, and then going and making something fun and hopefully designing it in a way that it never feels like work.
Well, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
I was just going to say the fear of, the fear never leaves either, of like, this might be the last time, like we might not get this chance.
Yeah.
Again.
Put it all out on the table. We got it. Yeah,
totally. That's important.
Well, I do think that's why these Scream films also are working. Not only are you clearly putting your heart and soul and effort into this, but you're fusing. Doesn't feel like a money job. While I'm sure it does well for you guys, et cetera. Like this is like what you love, and you brought your sensibilities and your passions, and like anybody that's seen your previous work, it's like, oh, this makes sense. This isn't like them just taking the first like studio gig they could get after Ready or Not. This is kind of, if they didn't create Scream, they might have tried to create something like Scream themselves. Mm-hmm. So before we get to Scream 6, let's talk about getting Scream 5 or whatever we want to call the last Scream movie. What was the process in a nutshell? Like, did you go in and pitch? And what was the gauntlet to get that gig?
No, we actually didn't have to pitch on that one. It was one of the strangest experiences we've ever had, because, up until that moment, it was the experience that I think everybody has, right? Like you're just banging your head against the wall. You're meeting after meeting, you're sending things out, you're receiving things and trying to attach to them. I mean, it's sort of chaos. And on the heels of Ready or Not coming out, which was, produced by the Project X guys, and that script shares a writer in common with Scream, Guy Busick. We knew that Jamie and Guy were co-writing something in secret. They wouldn't tell us what it was.
Okay.
And we had no idea. We didn't even have any predictions. And then very strangely, the Project X guys set us up at a meeting with Spyglass, who had the rights to Scream, and we didn't even know that at the time. And it was sort of strange. Usually meetings get set up through your reps, but our buddies were setting up this meeting, and it was very naive. We were like, oh, they just want to connect us with other good people and some friends of theirs. And in that meeting, Gary Barber, the head of Spyglass, just mentioned very casually, Jamie is writing Scream. Jamie and Guy are writing Scream for us. And we were just like super stoked to know that our good buddies were involved in one of our favorite franchises. We had no idea that they were planting the seed for us to come in and ultimately direct it. And then we got the call a few days later, like, will you guys come to the office? We want you to read a hard copy of this script. And I mean, it was, I don't think we'll ever forget that moment of sitting in that conference room, like page turning the script and stopping and looking up at each other like, is this fucking real? Like, is this actually happening? I mean, it was such a fantasy, and the script was so good. It was just undeniably good. I think if you'd asked us the day before, do you guys ever want to jump into the Scream franchise? We would have said, fuck no, like too much pressure, too crazy. Right. It's too beloved for us. And then we read the script, and it was like, it was undeniable.
Yeah, it also took us about 4 hours to read the script. And I remember we were sitting in the conference room and Jamie just kept poking his head in, being like, are you guys okay? Are you able to read? Like, what's going on? Like, what is taking you so long? He just kept checking on us. But it was just like, the script was so packed with just emotion and just like a love and passion for everything Scream that it was just undeniable. And honestly, just flipping through the pages, you felt the love, you felt the fandom, you felt all of the emotions you get, like, to be able to work on a franchise that is part of the reason why you make movies, right? Yeah. And it was that was just a magical day, and it was like really fun. And we are able to read. We were just really dissecting.
No, only one of you can read. You have to read to the other two.
Right, yeah. Read out loud to each other.
Yeah, that's why there are three of them. Right. So let's go back a full ages ago, about 14 months ago. Your last movie comes out. How many of the ideas were already in place? And give me also a sense of how you work with the writers, because obviously this is a partnership in every way between Radio Silence, but also between the two writers of these films. When did the discussions really begin about what this movie could be, and how much was even being discussed while you were making the last Scream film?
I think on the last one, we were so focused on doing a good job and making sure that it worked. And I don't think anybody, I mean, maybe like little fleeting dreams of another one, but I think it was really like, we have to make this work. Let's make this work. And then as soon as it started to come together, there were conversations, but they started writing Scream 6 before Scream 5 came out. And I think we read the draft like the week Scream 5 came out, right? Does that feel right?
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but it's
all a blur.
It is kind of a blur. It's just like Ghostface for like 3 years. But but us and Guy and Jamie have like a really, really collaborative relationship. And we have a text chain that is constantly going about stupid, silly things, and then also about work things. And, we've really grown to trust them over Ready or Not, Scream, and now Scream 6, where I feel like whenever there's something that's not quite working or it's not hitting for us in the way we want it to, they can either explain it or they use that as a jumping off point to go change it. And it just feels so safe working with them because, right. And in a good way, not like in a safe or lazy way, but in a way that like we can all trust each other. We can all link up, and we know we're going to get it there because we know what we all want and we all trust each other's instincts and sensibilities.
Okay, so this is the fair warning. We've already given some warnings, but let's start to get into some real spoilers for this film, okay? If you haven't seen Scream 6, get the hell out of here, guys. What are you doing here? Okay, there are some big swings in this film, as there always are in the Scream films, but among them, obviously the setting of New York. As a New Yorker, I love seeing New York as a setting, especially just the Ghostface in different contexts, amazing. But also the shift in the center of the story. And while the last film was certainly shifting from these quote unquote legacy characters, this new generation, this one really does. This one like doubles down, I feel like. And while we have Gale and she has an amazing sequence in there, it is really about your core four. So talk to me, I guess, for each of you, what felt like the biggest exciting swing about this? What got you jazzed about making this film in a nutshell? What felt like the biggest swing?
I mean, I think that you said it really well. I mean, outside of New York, which I think for us, that was the first thing we learned about this project, was that it was going to be set in the big city, and we were extremely excited by the possibilities that presented. But I think what we maybe weren't expecting was the level of character depth that was gonna be at the heart of what this story is. And I think, that's ultimately maybe the thing we're most proud of in this movie, is that for as violent and crazy and frenetic as the set pieces are, that's really balanced by these quiet moments where you really get to dig deep into those characters and those relationships. And I think for us, if we kind of look back on what we really love about all the Scream movies, but particularly that first movie, it's how patient that movie is with its characters, and how it it's never accelerating you through the moments that make you really care and really feel. And it's one of the things that is, I think, emerged as like a key ingredient in this franchise. And so I think that, those two things coupled together, it felt like weirdly like a crazy swing, but also like a return to form. That first movie, I think, really kind of is the perfect blueprint for.
Yeah, and just jumping off that a little bit too, I think one of the most fun things that we learned on Scream 5 was being introduced to Melissa and Jenna and Jasmine and Mason, and being like, oh, we're just scratching the surface with what they can do. Like, let's really like this next movie with 6. Like, let's hang the movie on their shoulders and like let them have at it. It's their time. And to be honest, we would work with them again on any movie, all 4 of them. Like, it just like, they're the best human beings, the most talented individuals. And I think just being able to put the franchise on their shoulders was just like, it was freeing in a way, and also very fun, and also kind of safe because we knew they were great. Yeah. So it was pretty wonderful that way.
Okay, so can we have the Neve Campbell portion of the conversation out of the way? I know it's a bit uncomfortable, but it has to be said that, like, look, obviously there was an intention for her to be in this film at some point, and the timing seemed interesting to me just because it sounded like she like announced that she wasn't going to be in it and you can look it up why, the disagreements. But right when you guys were shooting, like up until the last minute, were you planning to have Sydney in this film, like up until you started rolling cameras?
I think just first, just to say it, we had a lot of private conversations with Neve, and we're like huge fans of hers, and we're huge fans of Sydney, and we absolutely support her choice to not do this. It was like, I know it wasn't easy for her. It's something she's, been a part of her life for 25 years. And we didn't want to in any way disrespect that. While we were in pre-production, we were like, whatever's going to work best for you, you let us know. We'll keep this communication open. And but when we found out she wasn't going to do it, it was hard. And I think we all were kind of frazzled because we were like, okay, how do we do this? What are we going to do now? We need to know what we're making. Like it becomes a very like just
a practical thing. What is this going to be?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's just the actual process of making the thing when the gears are already moving.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's really credit to everybody in the crew and Jamie and Guy to be able to pivot really quickly when we needed them to. And there was a structure, like there was a foundation in this script that was very strong. And that foundation never really changed that much. And I think that's kind of at the end of the day what really got us through it. So it's teamwork really at the end of the day. And yeah, it was, to be honest, it was very hard, and, we were very bummed out about it, but sure. It's, we also took that as okay, kind of to what Tyler was saying a few moments ago, we need to make sure that we really, we make sure that the audience hopefully can fall in love with these new characters in this movie, the way we all fell in love with those original characters in the original movie.
Did any of her function in the story fall on any other characters when you shifted? Like, did you find that like Sydney's function shifted to another character in particular?
Not really. I think, one of the things that Guy and Jamie were really conscious of is that it didn't feel or shouldn't feel like things were just retconned because, we had to put a Band-Aid over anything. I think that, those guys are both really conscientious writers. And I think that when something gets pulled up by the roots like that, I think they're really okay with like diving in and doing the hard work to make sure that that whatever the story is feels really natural and really organic and really like it has a reason to be.
Right. So we obviously lost Dewey the last time around. Heartbreaking. Was Gale ever in danger of dying this time? Was there ever a permutation that Gale wasn't going to make it?
No, we still feel bad about Dewey while we think it was right for that movie and we would do it again. But, we as fans before we were involved in Scream, it hurts, and we didn't want to, that to us would just be too cruel. It'd be too much. It would take away too much of the fun of Scream, and I think we did that in the last one and it made it really hard, but it also helps the movie and brings it all together. And it's that balancing act. But in this one, we wanted to make sure Gale made it through.
We talk a lot about how that first movie is really like a secret feel-good movie, that the characters that you love, they survive. Like, and that's one of the reasons why it's such an evergreen, such a timeless, such a classic, is because it's something that I think it feels so good to go back to. Even when you know how brutal it is, the outcome is still so satisfying and cathartic because the characters you've fallen in love with make it out alive. Right. And I think that that's just, we love movies like that. Like we love watching those movies, and we love making those movies when you put your characters through hell and they come out the other end just, with the shit beaten out of them, but right. Survivors.
One of the, I think, yeah, go ahead, Matt. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, please.
Oh, I was just going to say, one of the things I think in our through line, if you like go back through all of our work, it's like we started off kind of doing like dark, funny stuff. But then in our first couple like anthologies, we went really dark. They were still kind of funny, but they had like a really dark ending. And I think there was something for us when we got to Ready or Not, and that ending changed a lot. Like in the original versions of Ready or Not, she dies in the end, and it was very much a bummer. And when it came to She Lives,
it's such a different movie.
It was like this real great moment of catharsis, and like right. You're with her and you're loving it. I think that really changed something in us where we were like, oh, that's the feeling we want. Like, that's what we want. And so there's something, that I think since then, in varying ways and trying to keep ourselves fresh and challenging it, I think we still always kind of aim for what is that moment you walk out of a movie and go, fuck yeah, I feel good. Even if everything you sat through was shitty and awful for the characters.
Well, you also get to have your cake and eat it too, because you still get to really poor Samara, you put through the ringer. Even if she made it through Ready or Not, she doesn't make it through the first 10 minutes of this one.
Yeah, it's a bad experience for Grace in this one.
Is this your vendetta against film professors? Should we know? Do you just?
Oh, we should ask Guy and Jamie about that.
Yeah. So let's dig deep.
Yeah.
So if there's one theme that recurs in these wonderful Scream movies, among many, it's the prevalence of fucked up families, and we're introduced to a doozy of a fucked up family at the end of this one as your killers. Again, was this always the path from the beginning, from the earliest inception of the script that was delivered to you guys in your conversations? Were these always your bad guys?
It's we sort of, I feel like we need to kind of go back through our notes and figure out when exactly things started sort of shifting with that. Like Matt had said, the foundation of the structure of what the movie was super solid and really didn't change a lot. But within that, as you start prepping and you're finding locations and you're getting inspired by who you're casting and all of that, I think that you really start rattle testing everything in the script. And I think one of the things for us that was really great in the first draft of this, but evolved to ultimately be what's on the screen, is that group of killers. It was always three, and there was more of a kind of vigilante justice angle, I think, guys, right? In the first.
It was the misdirect. It was basically ending with the "we're here to frame you."
To frame you, and I think for us, it was really
or get revenge.
Like,
sorry.
For as kind of bombastic and crazy as this movie is, that at the end, when you get to the reveal and you get to the reveal of the motive, which is something that I think all audience members are like waiting for, right? That's kind of one of the classic ingredients of these movies, that big monologue. I think for us, we just wanted something to be really simple and primal. We wanted that to be something that was super emotional and just really clean and clear, and ultimately doesn't need a lot of explanation. Like Matt said, that the big misdirect of, we started these rumors online about you to frame you, but it's actually just a revenge story.
Right.
And certainly also drafting off of Scream 2, which is a revenge story as well. And then, of course, the idea of this found family coming together in this movie, our heroes as a found family, and then sort of pulling that theme into who the killers was. There's a symmetry in that we think was just really, really nice and made a lot of sense for this one.
I really want to talk about the setting of the last act of your film, which is just this amazing shrine in practice and in reality, I would think, to Scream, to Stab, to these murders. Talk to me about constructing that shrine, and like, are those actual props from those films. Tell me about like shooting in that environment and creating that environment.
Go for it.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that this is a great question that also kind of dovetails with what we were talking about with the way we work with Guy and Jamie. Is the draft that we originally got, it was a warehouse, it wasn't a movie theater, and the props were not specifically what they are now. I can't quite remember exactly what they were. I think
it was a combination of the true crime props and stab movie props.
Yeah. And so there was like this, and again, we're in pre-production during all of this, trying to figure it out with these guys. And we knew like location, we had to find a location. And then Michelle La Liberté, our production designer, was like, hey, there's this really great movie theater we could use. And we were like, whoa, that's awesome. And it looks incredible. And we told Guy and Jamie, and then that kind of got them going on like, well, what would that be? How can we apply? How can that inform the movie, and why would that matter? And, it's like one domino starts falling and it leads to what ends up in the movie. But we had tons of conversations about, are these true crime props? Are these movie props? Right. And what we landed on is, these are actual from the crimes. This is evidence. Yeah, which then, played into the Bailey thing. And we had tons of jokes about how did this actually get constructed in the world of the movie? But, that's the world of Scream. But
German had an amazing ad lib. What was his ad lib, Matt? The shipping costs were astronomical.
Right. Yeah. But, walking on that set, we had a million conversations about how to actually lay it out so that, we could block the scene to kind of move and evolve, and it wouldn't just be like Scream 5 because they're in a corner in a kitchen the whole time.
Right.
We wanted this to kind of keep moving and, get Dermot up on stage and really go somewhere with it. But walking on that set for the first time as Scream fans was like unforgettable, like a life high memory. You're just like, holy shit, like this stuff is so cool. And it was really a handshake between all departments coming together to just create this thing that I think it surpassed any of our expectations for how cool it was.
Yeah. And just building off of that a little bit, I think we were talking earlier about the yes-anding and moving everything forward, because the fan films that are playing in the theater that are kind of setting the mood the whole time were like, that was added once we found the location, once we were able to find like the screen, and Jamie and Guy came up to Montreal and they did a complete walkthrough of the theater so we could actually go back and make sure that the parts of the script that were executed for specific locations and everything like that too. But then going with the fan films and whose fan films these are and who made these movies that we're seeing and playing in the background, and then reaching out to Jack Quaid to like complete that thematic circle of family and bring in all of that together was just, we just kept building on it and building on it and building on it. So it could, we could get that emotional release at the end of the movie too. And as well as that, holy shit, this is the entire franchise, which I think is a line that Mindy actually says, and just really like tying it up that way nicely.
I'm sure you guys are aware of like the constant speculation, the rumors, and the fan theories, and that's part of the fun of these films. And let me just put it to you bluntly: in your canon, is Stu alive? What's up with Matthew Lillard? What's going on? There were all these rumors, thoughts? Oh, he's going to come back. What did you make of that? What's your take?
I mean, we love poking that bear. I think that's just part of what's fun about the fandom and about the movies. I mean, obviously, that was the same conversation was happening around Hayden's character, around Kirby for 11 years, right? Until we dropped a tiny little Easter egg in Scream 5. And I think that that's one of the things that we love about these movies is that people connect to them in such a specific way, and they connect to specific characters in a really specific way. And I think that's it's common with all big franchises, but I think there's something about the nature of these movies as horror films, whodunits. Like there's something really sticky about them that attracts a really rabid fan base. Stu Macher is dead, you guys.
Stu, I mean, I don't know.
It depends on who you ask. Even amongst the five of us, it depends on who you ask.
So wait, there was disagreements within Radio Silence? That That's just Tyler's
Guy
thing? What do you guys say?
Right.
Well, Guy, the writer, one of the writers, he's a real stew head. He's like always like, guys, we got to do it. So I would say that the debate remains alive.
Okay.
But
and look,
Tyler thinks he's dead, but
we brought Billy Loomis back as a hallucination. So I feel like, at this point, anything's fucking possible.
Your Force Ghost equivalent.
I think I think I hallucinate Stu on a regular basis as in just real life. So it's pretty great.
Now we're just waiting for the return of obviously a film class guy number one, Joshua Jackson. That seems inevitable, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing else we need to know is what his actual name was.
That's that. Yes.
So, any talk of a Rian Johnson cameo this time around, or was did that ship sail with the last Scream?
That ship sailed with the last one. We did have a chance to talk with him though, after the release of the last one, just about sort of fandom and fan culture in general. And he was like, "Yo, you guys are experiencing something far crazier than I even experienced on Star Wars."
You guys,
but he was so lovely
class.
to so lovely to want to be involved at all. And obviously, we are just massive fans. And he's sort of at the tip of the spear in so many ways. Like the release of that movie, I think, kind of opened the doors to this new way of this new wave of fandom. And of course, I think it was always present in some way, but it feels like that we sort of crossed the threshold as a film culture with that movie. And we're just happy that we got to use his name, associate him at all with this universe is really, really fun.
So, look, I'm literally talking to you guys the day of your premiere, so this is like beyond cruel, but where are we at for the future? Have you guys already sussed out what the next Scream film is? Are you on board? Should the audience be there, which I know they will be there? Where are we at?
I wish we had something cool to report, but we don't. This is, it's very much I think Guy and Jamie are working on some stuff, but part of our process with them, and regardless of our involvement, is they like to kind of silo themselves for the script so that they can get really fresh eyes and fresh reads from us, and that it's not like this kind of ongoing process. So I'm sure they're cooking up something awesome. Is there
interest? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was saying, one of the things that we love about Scream, and I think we found this out by doing it, is that it's a franchise that has to reinvent itself, and because of that, it can continue to reinvent itself and go on as long as people show up.
Is there interest? Look, in this culture now where like these cinematic universes, there must have been discussion by now about side stories going back in time, et cetera, of doing a TV series set in the Scream world. Have you guys had those discussions? Would that interest you?
I mean, they did a TV series for a hot minute. Yeah. We talk a lot about wanting to make a stab movie series. It'd be how fun it would be to actually make like a grindhouse stab franchise. Amazing. And like right on the heels of the big Scream movie releases, you put out a super B movie, like fun down and dirty slasher. But I think that, but I also think that there's something, one of the things that is one of the reasons this franchise continues to have so much value is that it is really like on a path, Ghostface, collection of characters you love. And I think you can, as Matt said, you can kind of rinse and repeat that formula in different ways. I don't know. I mean, I think it definitely would be fun. The little Jennifer Jolie side story.
What that is, that'd be great.
I don't know how much you can say, and I presume not much, but I just have to say, I am a John Carpenter obsessive, and I am very, very, very excited at the idea of you guys taking on Escape from New York. Where are we at? What's going on, guys?
Deep development. Let's just say that. It's very, 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 very early stages, and again, that's we're having another call about it this week, just to see the path to go down. But again, we're very much masochists in terms of what we want to do in terms of our careers. So it's like it makes sense for us.
Steps of giants.
Have you spoken with John? Have you spoken with Kurt Russell?
No,
not yet. And that would hopefully be the next steps.
But I think that's it. It's the sort of challenge is like, I mean, you know, it's another thing that we love so much. And so making sure that whatever the path forward is, that it feels spiritually as connected to that as, you know, as our Scream movies feel to the originals. Cause that's another one saying that it's so influential to us.
Yeah. Is that, can you say at least, is that a sequel? It's not a reboot? Is that something that would retain the continuity and the character of Snake Plissken going forward?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be in the same world.
Yeah.
A requel, as Mindy Martin would say.
Yeah,
legacy sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't just get rid of and recast Snake Plissken. What madman would want to do that?
Oh, no.
I mean, where are you guys at? I'm curious now in terms of just like weighing your options, because like before Scream happened, off of Ready or Not, were you pitching on like a ton of IP? Were you being pitched or pitching a ton of IP related projects? Is that something that is interesting to you? Or are you excited about dipping your toe into other, you know, the Marvels and DCs and the Star Wars, all the obvious giant IP?
I think we have a very like our mentality hasn't really changed since we were doing like indie anthologies with our friends. And, you know, the first thing that we got pitched after Ready or Not was, I'm not sure we've told this story ever, right? About we were having drinks with Samara, and Jimmy, her husband, was there. And after a couple drinks, Samara was like, "You guys have to read Jimmy's script. You have to read it. It's great. It's called Cocaine Bear." And we were like, "I'm sorry, what?" and then we read it. And we were like, "Oh, this is fucking great." And Samara was like, "Guys, I'm so sorry I was pushing Jimmy's script on you. Like, oh my God." And we were like, "It's really good." And then we ended up signing on to that with like Chris and Phil, Lord and Miller. And there was a period where we were involved in that. And like, we were like in love with it. We really wanted to do it. And then Scream came along, and like we were just such massive fans. It was like a chance of a lifetime, and we couldn't say no. But it was really hard to leave that project.
Yeah,
like,
that was a tough one.
Well, that shows you had good judgment. That's a
yeah.
But I think that we're like I think we're the kind of filmmakers who, you know, are maybe more like want to model our careers more after like a Ron Howard, you know, where we just want to make stuff. Like we just want to make movies. And I think that if we could just roll into the next thing and then roll into the next thing, we really love the process. Our relationship with the process is really kind and really friendly and really full of inspiration. Like we're not tortured by production. Like it's a vacation for us. We genuinely love the process of making something. And so I think the more we can do that, the better. I think we'd go insane if it was like 5-6 years in between movies for us.
No, thank you. Yeah.
Are you comic book guys? Are you Marvel and DC guys? Is that something that would be an exciting opportunity?
A big time. I mean, I think if the thing was right, of course, you know, we all grew up, you know, loving comic books and certainly love that those franchises feel like they're at a point in their evolution where they're going to have to start taking some big risks just to keep things interesting. And we're here for it. We're excited to see what happens next with DC and Marvel.
And does it feel like at this point, because like, look, again, looking at the resume thus far, most of it, if not all of it, is really horror based in that milieu. Is it feel like it's time to like show off, like, you know, you mentioned someone like Ron Howard. Ron Howard is like, you know, the Billy Wilder of the last like 30 years. And like, he's done every conceivable genre. And is it the kind of thought of like, before we go too far down this one path, we got to show folks we contain multitudes?
I mean, I think that's the dream really to do, you know, it's like the Ron Howard thing. It's like Rob Reiner, Billy Wilder. It's like all these like guys who we just love that they were able to make movies. Like when you look at Rob Reiner and you're like, wait, you made Misery and Stand By Me. Like I can't even, you know, but that's the era we grew up in, you know? And I think there's something so special about that. And part of that too, admittedly, is that was an era when movies were just movies and everything wasn't, you know, what it is now, you know, not like shitting on anything, but like there has obviously a real shift in the way we consume movies and the way movies are made. And I think, you know, there are a lot more movies being made now, but unfortunately it feels like they can just go by you. And unless somebody tells you to go see it, you might not see it until like 2 years later. So that conversation where everybody's talking about the same movie, that is such, like, when we were kids was such a part of it. You know, we all fell in love with Indiana Jones, and all our friends loved Indiana Jones. And then it was, you know, The Mask, or, I mean, whatever. I think we just long for something like that. And to be able to be a part of something like that, where you're making new ideas, old ideas in a new way, whatever that is, just it's kind of what Chad and Tyler were saying. It's like, we just want to keep making stuff. Yeah. It's not so much to us about what genre it's in as much as it is this a cool story, and are we excited about it?
Well, that's what must have made also like Ready or Not such an intoxicating moment, I would imagine, for you guys, because like it was like no IP, and just like, at least, look, it wasn't $1 billion movie, but it made enough, and it was part of the cultural conversation in that period of time. And that is, as you well know, it's like, it basically is IP or horror right now. That's all you get. That's all you get to break through.
It's crazy. It's weird. It's bizarre. And we're lucky enough to be in the horror part of that, but it is. Yeah. I mean, Ready or Not was like a life changer for us.
I'm still amazed that movie has stayed a part of the conversation as long as it has.
And is there any active,
it's a dream.
Is there any active conversation on doing anything more with poor Samara now that she survived it? Yes, there is.
Oh yeah.
Oh. Okay.
And we can report that what we know about it is fucking awesome.
Yeah. So you're jazzed. You're excited about potentially.
Extremely
excited. We're excited about that.
Okay. I will watch this space. All right. I'll end on this note. I give you the power to retcon anything from the Scream franchise. You can bring anyone back to life and play with them, because as much that's part of the cruelty of this franchise is we've had such great characters, and then Wes kept ripping them away from us. So who would you have liked to have played with that isn't around anymore?
I mean, I feel like we'd all say Stu, right?
Yeah.
Only one of you said Stu's totally dead. I mean,
it'd be like a Stu Parker Posey like combo movie. I think that would be pretty great. Yeah.
I got to meet Matthew on the last one, and he's just one of a kind. There's something so contagious about his energy. And I mean, even if it just for the chance to like work with him for a few minutes, it'd be worth bringing Stu back.
Where there's a will, there's a way. You can do it. You can make this happen.
I also got to say, just on that tip too, and not because it's our movie, but we saw a lot of the cast from Scream 5 came out for this premiere this weekend. So we got to see like Dylan and Mikey yesterday, and it was
Jack Quaid is here. Yeah,
Jack Quaid is here, and it was like so wonderful seeing them all hang out with the new cast and get to see them all. And I mean, I miss working with Mikey and Jack. You know what I mean? Like as the Ghostface, like they're so good. So yeah.
And kudos to you guys, by the way, and I'll end on this. Just like, again, like Wes and Kevin did on the initial, just the casting, like we're already seeing. I mean, Jenna Ortega has taken over the planet. She's ruling. We all are her subjects, apparently. Like, it's just amazing. In just like a short year, like your cast is already going off and doing amazing things. So well done on all fronts.
They're all so good.
Congratulations, guys. I honestly, I'm a big fan of all your work, and this one, I like this one even more than the last one. This is a great movie. Scream 6 is awesome. I know people are going to dig it. Congrats, enjoy the premiere, and I look forward to being able to talk to you more about all your secretive projects when the time is right.
Would love it. Thanks so much for
thanks so much, Josh. Yeah,
anytime. All right, have a good one tonight. See you guys.